Buying new film gear can be pretty exciting, right? But it's not always the best way to improve your results. Sometimes it can just be kind of a vanity thing, a waste of money. But today I'm going to tell you, I think, a happy story about how we upgraded some gear from one shoot to another and really upped our game. Hello everyone and welcome back to Bigger Feet. My name is George and I'm here to tell you about some gear upgrades we made a while ago that I think made a big difference. I think as long as you're selective about what you really need and why you really need it, spending a little bit of money upgrading your gear can be a great way to move forward. Apart from anything, it gives you something new to learn. New gear always brings new opportunities and new challenges, and that's a great way to push ourselves and move forward. So let's look at two shots from two separate shoots a couple of months apart with two totally different gear setups. Here's the first one, and here's the second one. Very similar in form, but they have very different finish for three major reasons. We made three big gear upgrades between these two shoots that enabled us to do something different with the second one. So just for interest's sake, let's take a moment, pause the video if you want to, leave a comment and try and tell me which three things we upgraded that made the difference here. I'd be interested to know if you can see the difference. Some are more obvious than others. You all done guessing? Right, let's get into it. The first issue we addressed is motion. In that first shot, we used this plastic kitchenware spinner. It's just like a spice thing or a Lazy Susan or whatever, and just moved it with our hand. And it gave a pretty good smooth result, but it was kind of difficult to keep it smooth, eliminate these little micro wobbles, and it was obviously totally impossible to do the same thing twice. But honestly, not a bad piece of gear for $10 or whatever. Way better than nothing. We thought though we should upgrade. So we went ahead and got ourselves this Edelkrone motorized turntable. It's a battery operated block with a plastic turntable on the top, and it connects to your smartphone via app and allows you to remote control a completely repeatable movement. Because it's motorized, it's absolutely smooth. You don't need your hands on it. You can have your hands free to operate the camera, and it just gives you a load more latitude. We were able to get a longer shot and also repeat the same shot over and over again to fine-tune focus and such. Make sure we had our lighting just perfect, etc. And this repeatability is obviously really important if you want to composite other elements into the frame, if you want to add CG elements or other layers into the footage. Having an absolutely repeatable motion can be really important. So that was the first big upgrade, and although the final footage doesn't show a huge difference, because of course in that first one we selected the smoothest handheld motion we could, you can see a difference in the length of travel that we were able to achieve, because with the handheld thing we just couldn't turn it far enough, smoothly enough, so we ended up with quite a short segment. In the second shot we were able to get a much more dynamic speed ramped motion, simply because we could rely on the turntable to travel a longer distance more smoothly. So that's cool, yeah? It's pretty cool. The second big upgrade we made was to the lighting. In the first shot you can see it's a reasonably flat white light, and it doesn't look bad, but it's a little bit dull. In the second shot we used these Aperture MC pocket lights. They're very, very small, battery powered, and quite powerful. Spooky. They're RGB, so they change color. You can change them to any color you like, or even have them cycle through different colors during a shot. And because they're so small and relatively powerful, you can use them to sculpt light in a tiny situation like these macro shots and make interesting things happen. So we went for that kind of bichromatic color scheme in the second shot that we just weren't able to do in the first one. Ton of stuff you can do with these. They have little built-in effects. You can have paparazzi bulbs or lightning. I think my personal favorite is the police car. It's ridiculous. Or if you just want a tight kick of white light to punch up a particular detail. Sometimes nothing helps. A face is a face is a face. So that's upgrade number 2. Have you guessed them all so far? The third change, though, I think is the most subtle and the most important at the same time, and that's lenses. In that first shot, we used these plastic macro extension tubes to artificially play with the focus distance of a regular lens, and that was pretty good. These do push a lot of magnification, but they create a few issues with fringy chromatic aberration towards the edges of the frame, and they're not the sharpest because they really are like bashing the lens and making it do things it wasn't designed for. So we went ahead and bought ourselves a proper macro lens. This is a 100mm Samyang macro lens, which is designed specially to shoot stuff that's really close to it, create a big image on the sensor of something small. So using this, you can see there's a lot more sharpness and a kind of a greater crispy presence to the shot that wasn't there in that first one. It gives you a lot more flexibility in terms of focus distance and composition in your shot. So in a kind of subtle way, that was a big upgrade to image quality, but the biggest upgrade of all with this piece of gear is it's actually purpose built for the issue. So it's not fiddly and fumbly. You don't have to spend all your time trying to click the right number of rings on, and it's as much as anything a workflow advantage. And every workflow advantage makes things easier, frees up brain space, brings you to a better result in the end. So what do you reckon? We upgraded a few key pieces of gear between the two shoots, and not only did we get a better result in the end, I think, we also opened up a bunch more flexibility, allowed ourselves more options to experiment with, and enabled ourselves to chase a more perfect goal. And I think that's the fun of especially this type of filmmaking. Commercial and macro filmmaking, where you're shooting stuff really close up, you want to really focus on the details, you need the right stuff. But what do you think? Did we totally waste our money? Would you have upgraded something different? And a question to throw out to you, what was the last piece of gear you bought for your filmmaking that really upped your game in some way? Tell us in the comments below, and don't forget to click like and subscribe to the channel. We'll see you again soon.